Hi friends, it's Lisa Hetrick, illustrator for Gina K Designs, and I'm so grateful you could join me today. Here is the card that is inspiring today's project. We are going to have so much fun layering inks and having fun with my Something Good stamp set. I'm also going to be using the Thankful and Blessed stamp set from Emily Loggans because I just got to use that happy fall stamp in this project. It's just going to be so much fun layering all these inks with this super fun fall color palette. I've got Peach Bellini here, and in a Dusty Rose, Plum Punch, Honey Mustard, Prickly Pear, and Sweet Corn. I love this color. I just love this color, and I love it with the prickly pear. I also have a piece of the Gina K Designs white layering cardstock, and I have a piece of the black onyx cardstock for my card base. So we're going to go ahead and get started by creating the top layer embellishments for the card, and I'm inking up the frame here, the geometric frame, with the Plum Punch. And ooh, I just love that color. It's really deep and saturated, but when it dries, it kind of tones down to this beautiful, beautiful plum color. Okay, so I'm going to do the bud embellishments, and I'm going to do these in a couple different colors, and one of them I'm going to two-step stamp. So I'm using the Dusty Rose and the Plum Punch, but I decided that that Plum Punch was just a little bit too dark and I wanted a little bit more of a contrast. So I went ahead and grabbed the lovely lavender and just stamped that bud out in the lovely lavender as well. And I'm going to take the solid stamp that I used for the two-step stamping with these buds and just stamp that down as well. I've got a wild lilac in here because I was playing with all of the colors, just trying to figure out which tone of the lavender and the lilac that I'm going to use. So I just went ahead and stamped that down. I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut all of these elements out and set them over to the side while I build the layers of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and take that frame and just position it on the cardstock base because I'm going to just kind of keep using it as a reference as I begin to build the inked stamped layers below it. So I'm just going to pull a bunch of the different pieces from the Something Good stamp set, and this one I inked up with a little bit of the sweet corn. I just love that color. It has a little bit of a yellow orange tone to it, and it's just a perfect fall color, and it works really well with the prickly pear. So I'm just working my way around the frame and just using all of the floral and leaf elements from the stamp set to just kind of create a nice little motion around this frame. And I'm inking up the other piece that has like the little berries on it, and I've got prickly pear, and I really like that prickly pear. The other thing about the Gina K dye based inks on top of her layering cardstock that I've noticed, and you probably have too over time, is that when you first stamp an image, you get it, it's like really super dark and at full strength. That's the Peach Bellini. I just love that color. It comes out kind of pinky peachy. When you first start to stamp all of the colors, they're really at full strength, and then they back off a little bit and they become really soft. And I just love that feeling with these colors, with these inks. These inks are just so rich and vibrant. Okay, so I went ahead and took the frame and I kind of gave it another quarter turn to the left. So it does look a little bit wonky, but that's the way it fits the happy fall sentiment the best. So using my Connect glue, I'm just going to attach this, and I'm using the lines that are in the leaf elements that I've got going on here to just kind of be a frame of reference for me so that I can kind of line them up, and it's just a little bit on the wonky side, but that's okay. I'm really kind of digging this. It It gives this card base a little bit extra visual interest. Plus, turning it this way, the happy fall sentiment from the Thankful and Blessed sentiment set is just going to fit perfectly in there. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up the happy fall sentiment from Emily Loggans. I love this, and it just fits into that frame just so nicely and whimsical, and the frame is kind of wonky, so this hand lettered sentiment is just perfect for that space. And I'm inking it up a little bit, and it is super juicy, and you can see I kind of got a little bit too much ink on there, so I'm just taking off the ink because I know me, I'm a little bit heavy-handed when I stamp, so that that extra ink would definitely show up on my piece, and I don't really want that to happen. So here's another tip: you really don't need to mash your ink pad into your stamp. You really just need to tap it on, and you're going to get so much good juicy color. And I'm loving the way this happy fall sentiment looks in that plum punch. Just so delicious. Okay, so I'm moving on and attaching all of the embellishments. And again, the beautiful thing about this frame is that I'm just kind of using the angles and the corners within the frame to be anchor points for my design elements. And I did that intentionally when I designed the stamp to just kind of make it easier to create some really pleasing composition when you're creating your cards. Sometimes we just kind of move embellishments around, or we're never really sure where to put things. So when I'm illustrating them, I'm constantly thinking about um, where you might put a stamp and how you might use it. So yes, I kind of went on a little bit there. Sorry about that. Okay, so just did a little bit of two-step stamping with that bloom and just kind of creating that little triangular look around the happy fall sentiment, and using the tail of the Y just to kind of as a little anchor point for this embellishment, so that there is these two little blooms together and they're just kind of flying out of the Y. I just love that. Okay, so I'm just adding a last little bit of details here with some of the lilac color and the lovely lavender, and just using that splatter again in a triad around that frame just to add a little bit extra punch to the overall composition. Since this design is predominantly centered and definitely vertical, but you've got the frame that's kind of wonky, the splatter just adds a little extra detail. So I'm just pulling in my card base here just to kind of take a look at what the composition is going to look like. And it kind of prompted me to add just a little bit more. So I pulled out the 6x6 linen rubber background stamp from Gina K Designs, and I'm going to add a little bit of prickly pear and sweet corn just kind of around in a circle and just random on this stamp, and then just put the whole piece down and pull like an impression there. So you see I get a little bit of that texture, but actually on the outer edge of the whole entire piece, and I'm kind of digging it. So when I went and put the card base back on to the black cardstock, I decided it just kind of needed another layer, a little layer of pop with a little bit of that wild lilac cardstock, just to give it just a little bit more color before I put it on the black cardstock. So I'm just using my Connect glue and adding it to the card base. And this card is so super simple. Love that Connect glue because I can just move it around and have so much fun with it. I am digging the way this card looks. It's got such a fun color palette, and it was super simple to create. And here's a final look at the card. I just love that textured background too. I hope you enjoyed today's card tutorial. Thanks so much for joining me. Please consider sharing the joy by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.